Danny here. Welcome back to my channel. We're going to talk to you today about the Mandalorian Season 2. We're going to summarize the season. I have Omi here. She went over each episode with me as they were being released on Disney+. We're joined by Dano. He's here to hang out with us, talk with us about the Mandalorian and all the awesomeness that we got with the show. But just to kind of lay it out, we hope that you stick through the entire video. But we're going to be talking about our favorite plot moments, our favorite character introductions, our favorite battle scenes, our favorite episodes. To get this video started, we're just going to do a quick summary about what Season 2 was about. The way Season 1 ended, Mandalorian was tasked to bring the child back to his kind, which was the Jedi. In order for Mando to do that, he had to find other Mandalorians. So he was on his quest looking for the Mandalorians. He finally did, which then were able to point them in the right direction. They sent them over to meet with Ahsoka Tano, so potentially she can train Grogu, but that didn't work out. She then sends them to one of the ancient Jedi temples for Grogu to communicate through the Force and see if he's able to reach out to a Jedi to train him. Grogu then gets kidnapped, and then Mando is off to rescue him. So that pretty much summarizes Season 2.
Right.
Very straightforward. However, Season 2 had so many character reveals, had so many plot reveals, awesome battle scenes, and that's what we're going to go over. We're going to go ahead and get started and talk about character reveals. So I'm going to just go down the list really quick of all the characters that we got in Season 2. And some of these characters were returning characters.
That's right.
But they made their first appearance on The Mandalorian. We had characters that were from the animated series. So the characters that were introduced in Season 2 of The Mandalorian were Cobb Vanth in the episode called The Marshal. Boba Fett, at the very end of that same episode, he's revealed to still be alive. Slave One, which is a spaceship, but the spaceships in Star Wars are like characters, similar to the Millennium Falcon. We also had Bo-Katan in the episode The Heiress, Ahsoka Tano in the episode The Jedi, the Dark Troopers in The Siege, Bib Fortuna in The Rescue. I mean, come on, Bib Fortuna. Luke Skywalker in The Rescue, and R2-D2 in The Rescue. Dano, who was the character reveal that stood out the most to you, or your favorite character reveal?
I really enjoyed the Dark Troopers. It's this huge machine. They operated like Terminators almost. And just the look was amazing. Like body, like the sort of had the shine to it, and they just looked so menacing with the red eyes, and it was great character design.
That's definitely a great selection. I thought the introduction of the Dark Troopers were really cool. Yeah. Especially when they baby napped Grogu. So, how about you, Omi? Which character reveal was your favorite?
I have to say I'm going to go with Ahsoka Tano.
Okay.
Played by Rosario Dawson, the lovely Rosario Dawson. It was just a fan service because the fans were asking for her and they delivered. But my God, she really nailed the role, I feel. Everything from her mannerisms, the costume, and the paint on her face. I really enjoyed her performance, and I look forward to seeing more of her.
Yeah, and even her demeanor.
Yes,
right? Correct. There were these little moments where when she was talking to Mando, she's sitting down and then she puts her hands in her poncho.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. That's right.
Yeah. These little subtle
moments.
Very
subtle, but very much Ahsoka from the cartoons. That's where we first see her.
I'm going to go with Luke Skywalker. There were a few nominees on who could have been the Jedi to come and train Grogu, but the way he was introduced, they were very mysterious about it. They didn't reveal him right away, but you just kind of knew deep down inside. And when you see that X-Wing, it's like, it has to be Luke, right? Yeah. Like, if it's not him, I'm gonna be tight. I'm gonna be upset. They built it up, which was great.
They did.
When he took off his hood, you saw it was Luke. Post Return of the Jedi, being able to see Luke in his prime and getting that second opportunity to see Luke Skywalker after seeing the tragedy of the sequel trilogies, this was very pleasant for me. And if we don't ever see Luke Skywalker again, I'll be okay with it. Fine. Because this being his last appearance, it was awesome. It was great.
Yeah.
Great.
They did the character justice.
Yeah, they did. They totally did. The next topic that we're going to go over is plot reveal. So there was a lot. I'm going to go down the list. I'll be as brief as possible. But we had Boba Fett still alive. They mentioned, or they showed him at the very end of the episode, the Marshal, and it confirmed that he's still living. Fennec Shand, you know, after she got shot in last season, she came back with metal guts.
Yeah.
Din Djarin being a child of the Watch, which is a reference to the Death Watch, which is this other group of Mandalorians who are more of a religious zealot group. We also had Bo-Katan, who was searching for the Darksaber, and she wants to liberate Mandalore, bring it back to its former glory. The cloning facility in the episode The Siege. So that episode, we thought it was going to be very straightforward. We're going to take out the Imperial facility, but it turned out that it was actually a lab, and they're doing cloning experiments. And we kind of suspected that, but they confirmed it. And now we knew, hey, that's exactly what they wanted Baby Yoda for. And knowing what happens in the sequel trilogies, we can assume that this is leading to Palpatine being cloned and coming back in The Rise of Skywalker. The next reveal was Grogu's name in the episode The Jedi. Grogu trained at the Jedi Temple and saved by a mysterious person during Order 66. The search for Grand Admiral Thrawn in The Jedi. The destruction of the Razor Crest. That was indeed the true tragedy of that episode.
Yeah.
Din Djarin revealing his face in the episode The Revealer, and then again at the end of the season in the episode The Rescue. Moff Gideon revealing to Mando the Darksaber belongs to him and Bo-Katan has no claim. Luke Skywalker being the Jedi that received Grogu's DM instant message and he answered the call. It was like Grogu was sending out the bat signal, and Boba Fett taking over Jabba's palace. That kind of came out of left field. And the Book of Boba Fett, we get a new spin-off TV show, which is interesting because when Disney had their conference and they were talking about all the new Star Wars content and all the Lucasfilm content that was coming out, they didn't mention the Book of Boba Fett. So the season finale of The Mandalorian was the first time that they confirmed that. And then December 2021. So pretty quick. So we're going to get some good Star Wars this year. Omi, which of the plot reveals stood out to you the most? Which was your favorite?
I have to go with the episode The Jedi. There were quite a few moments, but specifically 2 moments in the same scene. We got the revelation of Baby Yoda's name, which is Grogu. And what's interesting about that name, I like the name, but a lot of people don't like it. A lot of, I don't know if you like it.
It's
No, I liked it. It was just sweet. We also find out a little bit of history with Grogu and kind of what happened to him. And he pretty much lost some of his memory in order to survive throughout the years, because he was actually hidden after Order 66.
Yeah.
Right. And he was actually trained by Jedi Masters. And I believe in Coruscant, right?
Yeah, the Jedi Temple at Coruscant.
That's right. And so I found that history very cool. And that whole scene, with Ahsoka communing with Grogu, it was very sweet. It was very you can tell, Grogu is very Force sensitive, right? Like
they were communicating through the Force, which was really cool.
I love that. I love the whole interaction, the melancholic music, the lighting, everything about it.
Yeah.
And so that made the plot reveal for me, the plot reveal was...
How about you, man? What was the plot reveal that stood out to you the most?
My favorite was Bo-Katan being after the Darksaber, and then Moff Gideon revealing that she can't have it because Mando won it from Moff Gideon in battle. So I think that's it's key for future stuff, and that's why I like it the most.
Yeah.
Because I think that's gonna drive Mando's story for some time to come.
Oh, absolutely.
It's true.
And there's some contention between Bo-Katan and Mando because the episode The Heiress, she makes the comment that the Mandalorians are stronger together, right? So now we're gonna see if that still rings true to her, right? Yes. Because is it gonna be self-interest, like, no, I want the sword, or I'm gonna go ahead and support him because indeed I do believe that Mandalorians staying together is gonna bring Mandalore back to its former glory.
Well, you know, when she found out that, you know, Mando had the sword, she seemed to, like, her face was like, okay, I want to uphold how I, you know, how I see things, and I want to honor the Mandalorian creed, you know, but you can see her face sort of like she was torn. I believe she was torn. So yeah, you're right, Dano. I think it'll be interesting to see sort of the plot develop.
My favorite plot reveal or favorite moment, it was when Ahsoka mentioned that she was looking for Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?
At first, I thought he was going to be part of the Mandalorian future seasons, but when they announced that she's getting her own show, led to believe that that's what her show is going to be about, her journey finding Grand Admiral Thrawn. Admiral Thrawn is such a great character in the Rebels animated series, and is a very threatening character. He's up there as a villain, up there with Darth Vader. I actually like Thrawn better than Palpatine. I've never been an Emperor fan, to be quite honest, but Thrawn has a lot of potential to be that big bad guy in the Star Wars universe. And what I would love to see, and this is more on the Ahsoka show, right? So it's not really about, you know, the Mandalorian, but what I would love to see is Thrawn kind of thrown into the different shows that we're gonna get, and he's sort of like that Thanos, right? In the MCU, where he's this threat behind the scenes, and then you get like a crossover movie or a crossover show with all the different characters from their own shows, and there's the build up to them facing off against Thrawn.
Oh, that'd be so good.
That's why I was excited about that little tidbit when Ahsoka said, "Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn?" That to me was awesome.
Yeah, I love that the Mandalorian show is bringing all these characters from the cartoons. I just love that.
Yeah. Seeing them realized in live action is awesome. So for the next segment of this video, we're gonna go ahead and talk about our favorite battle scenes, our favorite fight scenes. I'm gonna go ahead and go down the list very briefly, but there were some awesome ones, and we can probably spend the whole video talking about these. Mando versus the Krayt Dragon. That was in the episode The Marvel.
That was great.
That was pretty cool. Mando versus the Krykna Spider in The Passenger. The Mandalorians versus the Empire in the transport in the episode The Heiress. Cara Dune versus the Scavengers in the episode The Siege, where, you know, she was doing her UFC moves, and that was cool. I mean, I have to say that was pretty awesome. Ahsoka Tano versus the Magistrate in the episode The Jedi. Boba Fett versus the Stormtroopers in Tython, the episode The Tragedy. Migs Mayfeld and Mando versus the Land Pirates in the episode The Believer. Grogu versus Stormtroopers in The Rescue. You know, he was tossing them around like little rag dolls. It wasn't much of a fight, but, you know, we'll throw it in there.
Never is with Stormtroopers. It's fine.
It's so bad, right? Mando versus the Dark Trooper in the final episode, The Rescue. Mando versus Moff Gideon, same episode, The Rescue. What I like to call girl power versus Stormtroopers in the final episode. That's when, you know, we had Cara Dune, we had Fennec, Bo-Katan, and Casca Reeves, and it was just the four of them distracting and creating that diversion diversion. You know, so that Mando can infiltrate and go down on the DL to rescue Baby Yoda, and that was a very cool scene. And I really liked how they showed their unity, and they just kicked butt, man. They were awesome. They were great. And finally, Luke Skywalker versus the Dark Troopers. There's not much to say about that, I guess. But Omi, let's go ahead and get started with you. What was your favorite battle scene, fight scene?
I'm going to have to go with the scene in The Heiress with the Mandalorians versus the Stormtroopers at the Empire in the transport. I really enjoyed that scene because they worked together as a team as if they fought in battle before. They were very synchronized, and it was just so cool to see Mandalorians kicking butt. And so I really enjoyed that. And I feel that that synchronization sort of shows the Mandalorian fighting structure. You know, maybe they were trained the same way in terms of fighting. So I thought that was pretty cool.
How about you, D? What was your favorite fight battle scene?
My favorite was Mando versus the Dark Trooper. And he only really fought one that was able to escape. It was a really tense scene. We didn't know what was going to happen. That Dark Trooper was beating on him. Like, there was no stopping it. At one point, he was just like repeatedly punching his helmet, and it wasn't cracking, but he was breaking the wall behind him, which was like, whoa, how much of a beating can the armor take? And it was really cool. Like, it was smart of him. He fought smart, not hard, and sort of released all the other ones into space for some time. And so that was pretty entertaining too, to see like how they all just, you know, floated out there. They were in there for like the last 3 episodes, you know, just showing them visually, but you never saw really what they did other than fly. And so to show like how strong those machines actually are, it was pretty cool.
This one's going to be a little bit of an obvious one, but Luke Skywalker going to town on the Dark Troopers, because one, like you said, they revealed how tough the Dark Troopers are and how menacing they are. But then when you show Luke and how he just got through them, it really displayed his power, his ability in the Force. It was very stylized, the way that scene was shot. It was great because, again, as I mentioned before, there was this build-up, this reveal. And Luke Skywalker comes in with his hood, and he is just slicing through them, man. And he is, you know, he's taking, you know, Dark Trooper heads and shoving them with the Force to another one. You know, the very last Dark Trooper, he crushed it like it was a tin can. That's what you want to see a Jedi do. Everything from the very beginning to the very end of that fight scene was just awesome.
It's true.
It was really good. That the very first 2 episodes were, again, just set up introduction to what is the story, where did we leave off, and where are we headed as far as the story goes in season 2. It was an awesome season, so it's a little tough to really narrow it down to one specific episode, but we'll go ahead and make an attempt on that. So Daniel, what was your overall favorite episode? Why did it stand out to you? And, you know, just tell us a little bit about it.
I enjoyed episode 15. I think it was called The Believer, the penultimate episode. And I thought it was great because it had a good mix of action and dialogue. They had the whole transport scene and how that was, you know, the attacks and the constant battle to get these enemies off. You know, the whole going undercover, like they dressed up like stormtroopers, and Mando had to like change his helmet, and he was going back and forth with Mayfeld, and who was helping him. And I thought that was a good character to bring back. He was helping them, you know, get the coordinates to find Moff Gideon. And aside from the action that they went through, the other part that stood out to me was Mayfeld's conversation with his old commander, I think it's Hess. And how they had their dialogue, and Mayfeld was telling him about how he pretty much disagrees with war and all that they stand, that they stand for. And so it was pretty interesting to listen to, and given the place that they're in. And then lastly, Mando takes his helmet off in that episode in order to get the coordinates, and that was a big deal considering how he really doesn't want to go against the old ways of the Mandalore. And so it was interesting to see how much he was willing to do to get back Grogu.
That was a great episode to pick. It really stood out.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of that episode was the dialogue, 100%.
Absolutely.
100%. Very intimate, very much, you know, into their heads and sort of what they see, and how everyone has their own point of view. And yes, it can change, but you know, someone's point of view can, you know, it drives them to do what they do. And you know, it definitely drove Mando to take off his helmet, to, you know, want to save the child. And so just, I love that.
And I'm a big fan of Bill Burr, and he was in it playing Mayfeld. So That also helps.
Yeah, and I have to say, man, he did great.
Yeah.
You know, like he went into this episode thinking it was going to be very comedic, and that's what he served as part of the plot. Oh, he's the comedy relief, but he really wasn't.
Yeah, he said some funny lines, asking Mando questions on the way, but he wasn't delivering the lines like a comedian.
Yeah.
He was just asking questions that were dry comedy funny. Yeah. He's like, you never take that helmet off? Like doesn't it get hot in there?
Right. And what's funny is that when he did take it off, like he was just sweaty, right? Like his hair was
Omi, what was your favorite episode? Which episode stood out the most to you and why?
I'm going to have to go with the Jedi. I mean, I spoke of, Ahsoka Tano. And the reason I love that episode was, Dave Filoni directed it. And what's great, they brought a character from the cartoons, which, he also produced, the Clone Wars, and he was creative director, I believe. And, they brought this cartoon character onto, a live action show, and they did her justice. It was just so great to see Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka Tano. The mannerisms and the whole setup of the episode from the beginning to the end, the mood of the episode, it was dark, it was gloomy, it was melancholic. Even the fight scenes, between Ahsoka Tano and the Magistrate, that was a pretty cool battle scene, her form, the way she fought, very much to the character of the cartoon, which I appreciated. The revelation of Grogu's name and a little bit of the history and sort of, setting Ahsoka for future episodes, I feel. And so just overall, I just enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the Jedi. Yeah, I'm glad we got her.
Yeah, she had a great demeanor, and she was from beginning to end, she always seemed like she was in control of everything that was going to happen.
That's right.
My favorite episode was the tragedy. Tragedy had a couple of things going on. Grogu was supposed to commune in the Force to try to find a Jedi that would train him. You see him on that round stone, and he's meditating, and you see that Force energy kind of coming out of the stone. Mando trying to get to him, and how strong that Force was. Pretty awesome to see. But we also see Slave One for the first time. You see it coming out of the sky. You see Boba Fett. He's so menacing, right? This episode was directed by Robert Rodriguez, and you see his style throughout the episode, right? Because when he's fighting against the stormtroopers, he's very brutal. Like, he's taking these dudes out, he's cracking helmets. The choreography with the fight scenes and the battle scenes were awesome. And again, it speaks to Robert Rodriguez's style of filmmaking and directing.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the style of the episode. It was familiar. We didn't know that it was Robert Rodriguez until the end. The open scene, the light, and the battle scene, and it felt familiar. And then when we found out it was Robert Rodriguez, I was like, yes, that's awesome. Great episode. I agree.
It was great because it was so tense. The stormtroopers are coming, the dark troopers are coming. Grogu's still there, like meditating, sending out his message, his energy. Mando's like, come on, wrap it up. We gotta go. And he can't really get him. And so it almost feels like, time's running out, and we need to get out of here. And everything it ends up where Grogu ends up getting kidnapped. But the tension in that episode was great because of that stuff.
Before we wrap it up, let's talk a little bit about what we're looking forward to in season 3. What we want to see. What do we think we're going to see? Any speculations?
I want to see a resolution to what's going to happen with the Darksaber and who's going to lead Mandalore, or, who's going to take the reins and all of that, because Mando expressed he wasn't necessarily interested in any of that. He was just trying to get Grogu back and safe and get him to a Jedi. That's always been his mission, at least for the last season and a half. And so is Bo-Katan going to challenge him for it? Is somebody else gonna come and challenge him for it? So that's what I want to see, where I think the story might go in season 3.
Yeah, and you know how much damage did Moff Gideon cause, right? Because
right.
he was instigating that. And you know, going into the battle, he knew one of two things were gonna happen, right? I'm either going to defeat the Mandalorian, or if he defeats me, I'm gonna pit him against this other Mandalorian because now he owns the Darksaber. And he knew what the significance of the Darksaber was. So he instigated all of that. So what's going through Bo-Katan's head, what's going through Mando's head, because he doesn't have the child now. He doesn't really have any other mission other than, well, do I help bring Mandalore back to its former glory?
I think that'll happen. That'll happen. And Dano, I think that interaction between Bo-Katan and Mando, I think that's gonna, you know, like whatever, whether they battle it off or they talk it through and be like, okay, I'm just gonna hand you over the Darksaber. But yeah, I look forward to that too.
Yeah. How about you, Omi? What are you looking forward to?
You know, now that Grogu is with a Jedi, Luke Skywalker, I am very much interested to see how that develops, like how his journey continues and then sort of his meetup, because I feel he'll meet up back with Mando, right? You were talking earlier about how Luke Skywalker's presence and his power when he came in, right? And how the Dark Troopers stopped. And they knew there was a threat, and just to see that, you know, the Jedi is strong like that. And now this Jedi, Luke Skywalker, is training Grogu. I want to see that sort of power coming from Grogu and sort of his path, what he's going to choose. Because if you notice in the break, when he was fighting off, or he wasn't really fighting off, he was kind of just tossing the stormtrooper. Yeah. There was not a darkness, but you know, there was anger there.
Yeah,
right.
And fear, right?
And fear. That's right. He was scared.
Yeah, because Yoda said, you know, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to the dark side.
Right.
And that's why Ahsoka Tano didn't want to train him, because she sensed the fear in him
and the attachment. And so I'm very much interested to see Grogu's journey and how he's trained by Luke and what that's going to look like.
They make it a point to say he's 50 years old. And if you do the math, he's the same age that Anakin Skywalker would have been if he was alive. So technically speaking, he was born at the same time that Anakin was born. So is Grogu Anakin's Force opposite, or I can't remember what they call it in the sequel trilogies.
Yes.
But the two opposing forces of the Force.
Right.
So is there a greater significance to who Grogu is?
Yes.
A dialect in the Force.
Yeah. I mean, we did have agree that when he was hidden and trained by Jedi Masters, we thought that maybe, you know, Anakin.
Yeah, maybe Anakin was the one who rescued him.
Right.
And
so
I also think maybe they do a time jump, and maybe season 3 starts years later after this has ended. And a lot of stuff has already happened, and they're establishing like a whole new thing that has nothing to do with anything we just saw.
That actually would be really cool, because I mean, two things, right? You kind of have that time jump to see, you know, Grogu's training, like you said.
Right.
We see a little bit of what Mando
is doing.
Where Mando is in his journey. But it also opens up for Lucasfilm to come out with more books and, you know, cartoons and comic books to explore that time gap, right? If there is,
and how they tie in, you know, Mando with the Boba Fett show,
right?
So, yeah, we'll see.
There's a lot of things I'm looking forward to. As I mentioned earlier, I would love to see sort of like a crossover with all the new shows, sort of like what they did in the Marvel universe, where each character gets its own show. Obviously, Mandalorian is similar to Iron Man, where Iron Man got 2 films and he kicked off the MCU. And then you got every other hero get their own movie, which built up to the Avengers, right? But it would be great to see, you know, Ahsoka Tano in her own show, Boba Fett in his own show, Rangers of the New Republic, right? You know, I'm pretty sure Cara Dune is going to star in that. And you have all these one-off episodes that build up to this big crossover.
Yeah, I want to see more of Cara Dune.
Yeah, Cara Dune is cool.
She's great.
But I do want to see that. However, for season 3 of Mando, I really want them to introduce Sabine Wren, because she's from the Rebels animated series. She's a Mandalorian. She's the one who had the Darksaber and gave it to Bo-Katan.
You know what? They're going to bring her out.
They have to. They have to, especially if season 3 is going to be about the Mandalorians, potentially a civil war. Because this is the thing, right? Mando follows the creed of the Death Watch. And they're the ones who are these religious zealots that have this belief you cannot take off your helmet.
Right.
We want to bring Mandalore back to its former glory. You know, we're warriors. We're not pacifists. Are they going to then say, hey, Mando, you one of us, you know, let's take over Mandalore, when Bo-Katan is like, but no, that's not what Mandalore truly is. So there's going to be these two opposing forces potentially trying to get Mando to side with them. Is Sabine Wren going to play a role in that? Because she was a huge part of the Rebels animated series. We saw where, you know, her story ended in that show. So where has she been? And is she going to play a part in the future of The Mandalorian?
And she was such a great character too.
Yeah.
I mean,
she was a street artist.
I'm a little biased. That's right. She was a little street artist. So that's pretty cool to see if she would come up in the show.
Yeah.
You know.
And, you know, does that mean that Ezra Bridger is introduced,
cool.
right? I would have said yes, but again, with the introductions of all these new shows, now I'm kind of believing that maybe we get Ezra Bridger in Ahsoka's show. Because the last time, again, we saw Ezra was with Grand Admiral Thrawn. And, you know, their story and where that kind of ended up. So are we going to see Ezra in The Mandalorian with, you know, Sabine Wren, or are we going to see Ezra in the Ahsoka TV show?
Right, yeah. I'm just excited for what's next. It doesn't matter what they give us. It's going to be good. Yeah, they haven't let down in either season. So
before we wrap it up, Dano, any final words?
No, just like you guys, I'm just ready for another season and more of the spinoff series.
Yeah, absolutely. Omi,
just keep them coming, right? I don't think they can disappoint. Just keep them coming.
You know, growing up as a kid, you know, watching Star Wars and being a huge fan of Star Wars, this is exciting. I get to enjoy it with my wife, with my friends. You know, I get to introduce my daughter to the, you know, the wonderful world of Star Wars. So Dano, thank you so much for joining us for this video. Omi, thank you again for, you know, recapping every episode of season 2 of The Mandalorian. I had a great time recapping each episode with you.
It was great.
It was fun. I want to thank all of the viewers for sticking by, watching the episodes that we filmed, talking about The Mandalorian. Thank you for watching this video. If you really like this video, drop a thumbs up. Feel free to leave a comment below and subscribe, hit the notifications bell, stay up to date, and we'll keep the content coming. We'll keep on having a good time. We'll keep on laughing and discussing Star Wars, Marvel. That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.